Here it is. Nobody knows what socialism is. Let's look at a couple of other definitions, shall we? We just defined socialism for you. Let me give you the definition of statism. Statism is centralized power, political control, the theory or practice that economic and political power should be controlled by a central government. Statism. Does that sound like where we're headed? Statism? The theory that the economic and political power should be controlled by a central government. It leaves regional government and the individual with relatively little say in political matters. Do you feel like you have very much to say in I know you have a lot to say. Do you feel like anybody's hearing you in political matters? Or do you think that the giant businesses and the state are telling you we know better? This is why our founding fathers said, the power must be with the people. The power must be in your local communities and the state next. This is why in the stimulus bill, President Obama has put in a caveat that if the legislature wants the money, well, don't worry about it. You can have the money, even if your governor says no. If Bobby Jindal is your governor and he says, no, we're not taking the money, the legislature still can take the money because the federal government has said you can go around your governor. If you can go around your governor now, what about going around your governor when your governor says, I don't want any military troops here. We can handle it ourselves. We don't want the National Guard here. Remember, it's for the good of the people. That governor, he's out of control. Why can't the federal government just go right around? Because that is exactly what our founding fathers were worried about. A centralized government. The reason why, when we first came together, we failed. Everybody's like, oh, Baghdad, they should get their crap together. You know, it took us quite a while to get it together. I don't know if you know that. It took us quite a while. George Washington technically is our first president. But in the spirit of things, he was our second president. Because we had another form of government before we had our Constitution. We broke away, we got our independence, and then we just cobbled everybody together in a system that was just so loose. Because the state said, we want our own state power. We do not want a centralized government. So we'll just get together on a couple of things. Well, it was too loose. And so that's why our amendments are in the Constitution. The amendments were in the Constitution. They were promises to the states. The states, they didn't want another federal government. They were fine. Some of them, they're like, you know what? I'm on my own. We're fine. We don't need you. And our founders knew, look, you guys aren't going to be able to protect yourself. It's going to be a bad thing. Let's just come together. But look, we're going to make you some promises. We're going to tell you clearly what we're going to. You can always speak out against the government. You can always worship religion. Why? Why did they say that? Because at the time, there were different religions. I believe it was Massachusetts had already made a state-sponsored religion. And so they said, look, we're not going to tell you. Massachusetts is never going to be able to tell Virginia what religion to practice. It's not going to happen. You can do whatever you want in your state, but the federal government will never talk to you about religion. You do what you want in your state. We're never going to control the press. We're never going to shut them down. We're never going to shut them up because the fear was, why wouldn't a central government? We've already seen what an oppressive central government does. Why don't we just, why do we believe you're not just going to come and shut all speech down? We'll never do it. It's a promise. When you understand where we came from, you understand what their fears were. You understand that the amendments to the Constitution are not the government saying, hey, by the way, you got these rights. It was the other way around. It was them saying, look, we know you're concerned. We'll put it in writing. We'll never do this to you. You will always have the right to bear arms because we know you're afraid of a central government. And you know what? We're from another state and we're putting it together. There's all of us from 13 different states getting together. We're all afraid of a centralized government. We want our own independence, so we get it. We'll put this in here. So you know we'll never, ever have to worry about a government that's out of control because the people will have guns. When you understand what they were trying to do, which we don't teach anymore, then everything starts to make sense. You understand that leaving a regional government and the individual with relatively little say in political matters is the Constitution is over. It means nothing because this is the exact opposite of what they had in mind. Now, so are we headed towards socialism, a Marxist stage before communism, government control over the economy? Are we headed for statism, centralized political control, the theory or its practice that economic and political power should be controlled by a central government, leaving regional government and the individual with relatively little say in political matters?